Hey Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome back to Let's Play Civilization 6 as the Maori in the Terra World playthrough. Kind of struggling to fully decide where I want to put this settler. There's a few good locations that I could pop them down. Really though, I don't have amazing locations, all things considered, but I think it would be a good move to maybe get a hold of this area down here just to block off the coastline for any potential AI misadventures into my territory. And then I'm also kind of tempted to maybe settle a couple of these little islands out here just to kind of have a hold of them, and you know, I think it would be fun. I'm probably going to be settling for basically the entire game here. So that's what my capital is going to be doing, is once this industrial zone, we got the Maori, which gives us +4 era score. So once we get the industrial zone in the capital, I'm probably not going to switch away from anything but settlers for basically the remainder of the game. And I'm going to just be constantly pumping out and trying to fill up this entire continent, which is going to be one hell of an endeavor. The only time I'm going to stop off for things is when I actually need to build a district and when I need to build my government plaza buildings. Everything else I'm going to try to purchase or, get through other means in my capital. We did just unlock engineering. I would really like to get to shipyards. I'm trying to think about if now is the time to go for it, or if maybe I should go for military engineering to pick up niter first. And I think niter is such a useful tile. Having a few of them in your empire is like really helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. There's a bit of a scout problem up here. I imagine there's a barb camp in the nearby area. Oh, a barb camp appeared down here. That's going to be a bit of trouble. Do I have a quadrireme in the area? I actually do. So that's going to help out quite a bit. I don't have any military units in the area, however. So I do have to be a little bit careful. My navy is a little bit thin, but I think I have enough of a navy to kind of hold things off. Now, like I said, we completed the Maori in Otarapa, and I think it would be really good to get the harbour up to be able to... Wait a minute, do floodplains count as features? That's very interesting, because I'm getting faith and... Wow, okay. I'm getting faith and culture from these tiles, even though they're farms. That's a little bit odd. I mean, I'm not complaining, but I think it would be good to get the harbour up in here so that I can get more trade routes and eventually build a shipyard in Otarapa. Another tribal village, just 20 faith, not a huge amount. That's like a turn worth of faith, which, not a huge amount, but a decidedly nice amount. Our very first harbour with +3 or more adjacency has been finished over here in Opango. I think the most I've had so far is +2 in the capital, right? Oh, +4. Wait, what the hell was that then? 4 or higher, right. This one only has +3, correct? Well, it has 4 now, but we didn't have 4 when I finished it. But this one has 4 when I finished it, so I got the era score for that, which means I'm definitely going to get a golden age. I really do want the theatre square, but I'm going to be prioritizing trade routes this game because that's going to be yielding me a ton of gold production and food and stuff like that. The world enters into the medieval era, and we enter into it with a golden age, right? Yeah, there we go. There's our golden age. Now, let's see. I could take free inquiry, which would get me a lot of science, which would be really good in the mid-game. I don't have a huge amount of faith production, so monumentality isn't super useful. I think all of the religions are gone, so I don't think I'm going to be getting a religion this game. So I think I'm going to take free inquiry here for the extra science boost that's going to get me. So you can see right now, I'm making 55.7 science per turn. When I refresh this, I'm making 69.4, which is a significant amount of science, especially when you consider I am currently building more harbours, and that number will only go up. And this huge chunk of sort of early mid-game science is going to make up for the fact that I'm going very light on campuses this game. I don't plan to build many, if any, at all this game. We'll clear out this barb camp. I'm going to wait until the AI actually clears it before I jump up here to settle. This isn't an amazing settlement, but I think it will do the trick. Okay, so we have trade route with city-states and religion. I don't care about which religion gets picked, so I'm just going to pick the one at the top of the list. But currently, I am mostly trading with industrial city-states, I think. And I think trading with industrial city-states would make the most amount of sense here. So if I go here and plug in industrial city-states and just give it 2 votes, maybe I think that will pass. We'll see. Okay, looks like religious city-state passed. And I'm okay with that. All of those guys voted for religious, which kind of makes sense. They probably have a religious city-state over here on the other continent. So that's probably what they would have voted for. I didn't have that knowledge, so I couldn't make that determination. You can see our science has jumped up again to 79, thanks to the fact that a couple of harbours finished this turn. I'm of course going to be getting my lighthouses up in both of the cities that finished harbours this turn. I'm also going to be promoting Pingala, I think. Well, I could go for fisheries on Liang. She is established in Wanganui, and it's probably not a terrible idea to go for aquaculture. I do really want the Mausoleum in Wanganui as well, so once the theatre square is finished, I think I'm going to pop it down on this marsh tile right here, and I might even just swing over and plug in Corvée, although I'm in the wrong kind of government for that, so I might just leave that out. I think I can get it pretty reliably, and then I might try to pick up the Colossus and the Great Lighthouse in here, because I have room for both. I guess I'll clear this barb camp with my settlers, since the AI didn't want to do it. My scout got a little bit of experience from clearing this tribal village, and there's another one over here that I'm going to try to grab. Looks like a few emergencies has passed just now. Thankfully, I don't have to deal with any of that, because I have my own continent to myself. With the unlock of military engineering giving me access to the niter resource, I think I am going to come over here and start working my way towards mass production. We're now in the medieval era, which does mean that I can research medieval era technologies without any penalties. So I'll probably go for like education into mass production. And then I'll probably, well, actually, I might go for cartography early here because I'm working a lot of fishing boat tiles, and that's going to give me +2 gold from fishing boat improvements, and then go pick up mass production. So I definitely want to settle around here in this area. This looks like it has lots and lots of really nice feature tiles with jungle and woods and stuff like that. So I think I might try to get 3 to 4 cities in and around this area to take advantage of all these nice tiles. Time for this stone city to be settled, and we of course pick up some nice stuff. Now this builder probably isn't going to do a whole lot for a while. What I'm going to do is start work on the harbour district, immediately purchase the monument, the granary, and I'll purchase the watermill in a couple of turns, and I'll get this crab tile online as well. And that'll get this city started off on a really good footing, so that it'll be able to continue on and get this iron online and stuff like that, as well as this fishing tile. Just finished the industrial zone in my capital, and it had +4 adjacency, netting me another 3 era score. And not only that, but it netted me a huge chunk of production in here. I will eventually want to purchase the workshop in here for another 3 production. In fact, that might be a bit of a priority for me. Once I have the watermill in this city, I might sort of prioritize picking up the workshop in my capital, because that's going to be about a 10% production increase to my settlers, which means I get my settlers 10% faster. Tundra is honestly not that bad for the Maori to settle. It takes a bit of investment, but once you have the Maori up and you can start planting forests, like, the tiles become really, really good, especially if you're coastal with a couple of sea resources to take advantage of. So I'm not too worried about that. But I do really want to get over here to this area, because this is definitely a priority for me with all the really nice jungles. So I'm sort of sending my very first settlers in that kind of a direction with a little bit of an escort to be able to clear out any barb camps that appear along the route. Harbour is completed in Keapoi. I will go ahead and place the theatre square to lock in its cost, and then I'll start to build the lighthouse. I know I said I was going to prioritize spending my gold on my capital to get the workshop, but I am going to still spend a little bit to get fishing tiles online, because they're that good for my empire, especially once I unlock cartography. They'll start paying themselves off incredibly quickly. And that'll only become more and more true as I get shipyards online. Lighthouse completed in Otarapa. I think it's time we grab the trader in here. I want to save my gold if I can. I am going to want to build more stuff in here, namely around housing and culture, so that we can work more of these tiles in this single city. But for right now, I think the trader is a reasonable thing to produce, because that's going to provide economic benefits empire-wide. You kind of, the way to think about traders and builders and stuff like that is they're basically the things you can use to like move production and food around your empire. So that's kind of how you should really think about builders and traders. And rather than purchasing this iron tile, because I purchased the monument in here, I'm going to just let the city grow to this naturally. And then we'll sort of naturally improve tiles as the city sort of reaches out to them. There's mercenaries, which is a really good step along the way to picking up our next government, which is of course going to be Merchant Republic, which is about 8 turns away. And we're going to be doing a huge retool of our government once we're at Merchant Republic. I have an envoy on my hands, and I might make friends with Leventa here, although Cahokia would be a pretty good one too, because they would give me +2 gold in all of my markets. I already have Suzerainty of Lisbon giving me +2 gold in all my markets and lighthouses, but I think picking up Cahokia here will further boost my economy, and that's only going to get more powerful as time goes on, as I continue to build more lighthouses. Lighthouse completed in Wakarakawa, Jesus, and instead of actually building the trader in here, I'm going to build the trader in a different city, and instead in here, I'm going to work on actually just going straight for the theater square, because this city has a little bit of a weaker production line. So ideally, I'm going to go ahead and get the trader in Otarapa, because this is just a slightly better city. So it can kind of, that already has its theater square up, so it can kind of better use its resources to transmit production around the empire. And I think this trader is going to go to Warakara, and that'll trade with my capital to get food and production. There is cartography, which gives me a huge boost to my gold income thanks to all of these fishing tiles. I should really keep an eye out for tiles that aren't improved, like for example, these turtles over here. I do have a builder in the water, since I didn't see any reason to improve any more tiles in Tamutu. I was thinking of either improving these cattle tiles or maybe sending this guy up to grab a couple more of these fishing tiles as they unlock. For example, I could grab these crabs over here. Trader is completed in Otarapa. I'm of course going to be teleporting this over to Warakawa so that I can trade with the capital, and then immediately get to work on another trader in this city, which will only take 3 turns. Brilliant. We are going to go ahead and clear out another barbarian encampment for a little bit of gold, which is not a huge amount of things, but it is a nice little optimization if you can pick up those sorts of stuff. We also, I think we have accumulated enough gold to go ahead and purchase the workshop in my capital, which is a pretty significant upgrade to the production capability of this city. I think I might even prioritize working the workshop over these 2 food, 1 gold tiles, at least until I have the shipyard, because work on this tile, I believe, gives me 2 production. So I think I would rather have 2 production than another 2 food in a city that already has a ridiculous food surplus. For similar reasons, I'm probably going to save up to purchase the Maori next, so that I can work my specialist in here. Also, wouldn't it be really cool if there was a government plaza specialist that gave you 1 of each yield? Get on it, Firaxis. Trading with the capital from Warakara, that's going to go ahead and bring down the amount of turns that I need to build the theater square by 3, which is a really big boost in terms of food and production, especially since the city is going to continue to grow. I will need builders and stuff like that as time goes on, but I'm not super worried about pumping out builders just yet. I'm kind of busy doing things like the Mausoleum over in Wanganui, and I think Wanganui is going to be the city. Oh, it already has the trade route. I was thinking of putting another trade route in here to trade with the capital, but I'm already doing that. So I don't know what I'll do with this next trader yet. Maybe I'll probably trade internationally to pick up some extra gold, because the more gold I can get, the more I can snowball out of control. And I'm already snowballing pretty hard out of control here. I'm making 92 signs per turn, thanks to the Golden Age. I'm making about, a third of my signs from having harbors. And I'm also making 66 culture per turn, which is a hell of a lot. The only downside is Russia is in the game and they're earning a ton of great artist and great musician points. But I don't have to worry about great writers so much, so I can kind of forget about that part. I've got another envoy on the cards here, and I think I'm going to go ahead and take control of Bandar Brunei. Again, for the little bit of gold. Having all of this gold is really, really powerful. Because if you think of it, gold is basically production that you can choose where it applies and when. So you can basically transmute gold into any resource. So it's incredibly powerful, because if you know which resources to turn it into at the right time, you can start to snowball incredibly quickly. Looks like a barb camp appeared down here in the south. Thankfully, I do have a little bit of a navy to help take care of these things before they get too big of a problem, which is exactly what that navy is for, is to deal with any coastal barbarian encampments. I can't really deal with inland ones right now, but having a navy kind of just spread out around the world a little bit is really paying dividends for me in terms of barbarian population control. So I got another trader in Otarapa. Now, I'm really not sure where I should pop him. Kayapoi could probably use it. For sure. So that might be the right thing to do. The city is pretty much at its housing cap, but it will continue to grow once the lighthouse is up. It doesn't have a whole lot of housing, or what do you call it? Fishing tiles, but I think this is still a reasonable choice. And again, I have the key districts that I really, really want in here. The only things I would maybe want are builders to send to other cities, or traders and stuff like that. And I think I'm going to prioritize traders, like I was talking about. Opango has managed to finish its lighthouse, which is giving me more science, more gold, all that lovely stuff you can see here. 4 science and 4 gold from that. We'll get to work on the theater square. Now, it's going to be a slow theater square. The city doesn't have a huge amount of production, so that kind of makes me tempted to purchase a builder in here. Now, they're fairly expensive. I could alternatively build a builder in 13 turns, but it would be really nice if I could maybe get both of these cattle tiles online, because they do yield a production each, and the city is already working them. Alternatively, what I could do is spend a bit of gold to purchase like these 2 forest tiles, because that'll be a significant boost to the city's production. And that'll actually cut the amount of turns to build this in about half. I might even send a trade route down here as well to keep this city fueled. The nice thing about having a continent to myself and all these like little ice islands, I find a lot of tribal villages. I think I found 3 tribal villages in just this little section of ice over here. Now they only get you about, maybe 40, 80 gold or whatever each, but that still adds up over time. The nice thing too is we just unlocked Merchant Republic, which means we're going to be switching over. And that's actually going to trigger a few changes to my strategy right now. We're definitely going to be moving back for naval tradition. In fact, you could maybe argue that I should have had this plugged in already due to the era that I'm in, but I felt like it was more important to get Merchant Republic first. I definitely want Trade Confederation, because that would make international trading more attractive. So it's really a question, do I want caravansaries for internal trading to get extra gold from actually my internal trade routes, or do I want Trade Confederation to get extra science and culture from my external trade routes? Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one. I definitely want to keep colonization and serfdom. I'm definitely going to want to plug in the harbor adjacency card, and I'm definitely going to want to plug in one of these Trade Confederation cards. I don't think any of these other cards really appeal to me, except Core V in the short term. So I think for now, since the majority of my trade routes are internal, I'm going to plug in caravansaries. I'm also going to plug in Merchant Confederation because I have a decent number of envoys already, and that'll be a significant amount of gold. You can see now we're up to 200 gold per turn, which is a hell of a lot considering it's only 100 turns into the game. Looks like my capital has reached 15 population, which is a significant milestone because I'm cranking out a ridiculous amount of production in here thanks to that really high population. I definitely have the gold now to come in here and purchase the Maori, which is going to give me another the Maori doesn't give specialists? Oh, it was hidden under the city thing. So I'm going to work that for the extra 2 culture. In this particular instance, I normally say specialists aren't very useful. However, I'm working 2 food, 1 gold tiles right now. So I feel like the specialists are well worth it. We also just picked up a Zheng He, which is going to give me an extra trade route, as well as a couple of other benefits I'll show you right now. You can see here, grant a free trader, increase trade capacity, and foreign trade routes to my capital will now provide +2 gold to everyone. Probably not going to get too many foreign trade routes, except maybe city-states, but that's totally fine by me. I'm going to trade with Kabul here, because that's going to net me another envoy with Kabul, which means I'll have the option to make better friends with them down the road. Plus, all of my envoys are worth +1 gold. That seems like a pretty reasonable thing to do. Now that my first settler has arrived over here in this land, I got to make a decision about where exactly I want to settle. I definitely want to put a city down here and up here, and maybe one in and around here. So I'm thinking, for sure, I want to settle on the bananas. Because I'm playing Coupe, I can't actually harvest bananas. So if I can settle on bonus resources, that's actually really good for me. Similarly, I'm kind of tempted to settle on the spices or the iron then, after that. I think if I settle on the iron, I'll have access to a really strong harbor here. So I'm going to be settling on the iron and the bananas. These cities are 3 tiles apart, so there'll be a bit of overlap, but I think they get the majority of the good tiles in the area. The only downside is this city doesn't have a very good harbour in this section, but it will have good harbours over here if I really want to. Then I think there's definitely room for a city in and around here, and it could honestly be on the sheep, which doesn't grab much of this jungle up here to the northeast, but on the sheep is not a bad spot. I could shift it up 1 tile to here, which is exactly 3 tiles away, but it would grab a couple more of these sort of tiles over here. I think I'm going to go on the sheep though. These will be tightly packed cities, and some of them won't be settled for quite a while because I'm still only just starting to send settlers around this continent. Speaking of which, I am going to want to maybe pick up movement speed for embarked units at square rigging, so that might be my next priority. Of course, once I have shipyards unlocked. Looks like we've met a couple more of the civs in the game. One of them is Mongolia, and one of them is the Khmer. They've got a couple of nice cities over here. And I think there's only a few, yeah, we've met about half the civ in the game, just over half. There's quite a few left to meet. Just unlocked Naval Tradition, which means we are going to want to put in the Harbour Adjacency card for 100% Harbour Adjacency bonuses. And I think I'm going to temporarily replace Caravanseries because the Harbour District Adjacency bonus is worth more, and I am still planning to build wonders for a little bit of time. I'm also going to pop out Feudal Contract because I accidentally didn't put back in Veterancy, which was hurting my production towards encampments and harbours. Speaking of wonders, we're only 6 turns away from the Mausoleum, and I would really like to get it in this city. This city is going to be heavily primed with Liang to work all of these water tiles and grow an absolutely ridiculously huge city. I'm also tempted to purchase the Maori in here to start boosting this city, but you know, time will tell exactly what I need to do. With the unlocking of Merchant Republic and Naval Tradition, I think the next couple of milestones that I want to think about are picking up some of these envoys back here in the back half of the tree, like Theology and Mysticism. That's a couple of envoys there that's going to get me even more gold and stuff like that. There's a couple of governor titles over here. I'd also like to start getting alliances as well as spies, but I also really want to unlock humanism so I can start getting art and archaeological museums. So what I think I'll do is I'll pick up Theology, then I'll head to civil service for alliances, and then I'll head to humanism, which I think is a pretty reasonable pathway here. And then I'll head to diplomatic service and stuff like that. Speaking of envoys, we got another one, and I think I'm going to send this one to Candy to make friends with them, just to get the suzerainty for the extra diplomatic favor that I could sell to the AI for even more gold. Although I haven't really been selling much to the AI this game. I'm kind of playing my own game. I do think it is about time that I expanded my navy a little bit. So I'll have to find somewhere and somehow that I want to do that. My navy isn't, like, irrelevant, but I definitely want to have, like, 2 to 3 more boats sort of protecting my waters. There's military tactics and mysticism unlocked, which did give me another envoy that I can spend on these wonderful little city-states. And I'm going to go ahead and grab Mexico City right now. That's another +2 era score. Trader completed in Otarapa, and I think this one was going to go down to Opango to help this city out. With the finishing of that trader, I'm going to keep building traders in this city because it's really what I need. I just need a city that can do sort of empire-wide infrastructure to help out. And this city is kind of where I need it to be right now. I could, of course, work on more districts, but it's not super important to me. The only one that I would maybe consider being super important will be the commercial hub, because there are quite a few really, really good great merchants this game. But I think getting those trade routes online is pretty critical. We're settling another city up here. This isn't going to be the most amazing city in the world, but I think it'll do a decent job, especially because it already has access to a really powerful fishing tile. It has a decent harbour right here. It also has access to a really good campus right here. And it still has room for a decent theatre square to be able to actually like take advantage of all the nice tundra tiles that we'll be planting forests on. But speaking of improving the city, I'm going to go ahead and pump in a granary and a monument in here to get it started and immediately begin work on the harbour. This is the power of a coastal game. You just have so many resources to get cities up and running that you can basically kickstart your economy. Even though I had a very slow start, each like city that I'm settling comes online much faster than a traditional playthrough. Hey, I found the Matterhorn, which not a super useful wonder for a naval-based civ on its own isolated island, but I'm not going to complain. There's Theology giving me yet another envoy to spend on the city-states. I would really like to get Antioch. Now, they want me to recruit a great scientist, which is very unlikely to happen this game. So I might just have to put envoys into them manually. And I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to do. Although, on the other hand, I could give these to Valletta. And getting suzerainty of Valletta would be really, really nice because it'll allow me to spend my faith on building walls with faith. And if I could maybe get a faith purchasing reduction here, if I switch over to theocracy at some point, I could purchase like all of my walls right before I get conservation. Which I think would be a great way to convert faith into tourism, into like immediate tourism. Wawakawa basically has the choice between building the Maori and builders, and I think I'm going to get the Maori online first, because this is going to give me plenty of yields on a few of its tiles. Looks like I found another natural wonder over here. I think it's the Delicate Arch one, I think it might be, but I can't remember the desert one. Maybe it's Petra. No, not Petra. The Red Rock thing. God, why can't I remember what it's called? So I could trade with Geneva for an extra 3 gold and an envoy with Geneva, and that doesn't seem necessary because I'm already suzerain of them. But the other thing is, it would open up the possibility for more envoys in future eras, and it's actually +4 gold, so I think I will take envoys where I can. Originally, this trader was intended to trade with my capital, but that's not really possible right now. Time to settle the really, really good far western city. There isn't a whole lot to do with this builder without spending significant amount of goals to get out to these fishing tiles. And this city already has really good tiles to work. So I think what we might do is let this city hard build a watermill. I'm going to place the harbor for sure, but I might let this city hard build a watermill and then chop this tile to put the mare on it, the theater square, like this. And yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable use of this city. Converting a 2 food, 1 gold tile to a 4 food, 1 production, 3 gold tile. And I don't even have shipyards yet, which is going to make this a 2 production tile and this one a 3 production tile. Just unlocked recorded history, which does give me campus adjacency cards, which doesn't matter because I don't have any campuses. More importantly, it gives me another promotion for my guys. And I think now might be a good time to pick up Reina, because she gives +2 gold from each unimproved feature. And features receive +1 appeal. I think she might be really good to pop down in this newest city over here that is just made of unimproved features and will never get improved features. So I'll pop her in there, and my second government, my next government title will go into her as well. Speaking of this city, probably about time that I purchased the monument in here to get the borders growing. And I'm also going to go ahead and grab the granary, and I'll let the city naturally build the watermill. Didn't I have a builder in this city? Did I accidentally delete my builder? Oh god, I think I deleted my builder in here trying to delete the pin. Oops. What the hell? Where did this builder go? I'm so confused. But since we have a new government, we should also get to work on picking up our government plaza building. And I think I'm going to go ahead and stop off for the intelligence agency here, because it's going to give me access to spies really early compared to unlocking diplomatic service, which is normally when you get your first spy in the game. Oh, I found Kumasi hiding down here in the fog of war. Interesting. They're actually really, really good for my trade-based empire, so I'll definitely be prioritizing them for envoys. Their mission is to trigger a Eureka for banking, which unfortunately means I need to have the guild's civic. Actually, I'm going to be able to do that no problem. So, not unfortunately, fortunately, I'm going to be able to pull that off. Time to start popping fisheries down here in Wanganui with any spare build charges that I can pull together. Mausoleum is finished in 3 turns, which I'm pretty excited about. And the question is, do I settle on the wheat here, or do I settle to the left of the wheat? I feel like if I settle on the wheat, this city gets an extra usable tile. But it's a little bit closer to Pekool. Whereas if I settle over here, the city gets -1 usable tile, but picks up a bunch of these unusable tiles that I'll be able to plant forests on. So I think the right decision is to settle off of it. Hey, we met Spain. And did I meet anyone else out of curiosity? No, just Spain. Oh, and there's France. Never mind. So I did meet 2 more people. Spain and France are in this game. So it's kind of fun to kind of let them be crammed on their own island while I'm over here just having a field day. Just having a really good time. And I think this is definitely a kind of game you guys should maybe look into playing. Just every now and again. Like where you just basically get to do whatever you want. And this sort of low pressure game is a great way to explore the game mechanics and see how efficiently you can manage an empire. You can see right now, Battle Royale Island, like pretty much everyone has sub 60 science, whereas I'm rocking 122 with 77 culture as well. And I'm also pumping out nearly 200 gold per turn. Sorry, over 200 gold per turn, not nearly. In terms of trade routes, I'm going to go ahead and see if Tepakawi, whatever the city is called, Tepo, can trade with my capital, because it would be really nice if I could get that extra production in here. I have managed to finish building all of the traders that I need in general, so it maybe is time to look at this city and make a decision about what we want to build next. And I think we did agree that the commercial hub here, it's a +5 commercial hub that will be really, really useful for picking up some of these important great merchants. I could also pick up the Temple of Artemis here if I really wanted to. There's a couple of tiles I could place it, and if I put it here, I would get +2 adjacency on my theater square. And it's only an 8-turn build time that would give me 3 housing, 4 food, and looks like maybe 1, 2, 3 amenities eventually, which altogether isn't too bad. I am killing a really good growth tile, but I think this in and of itself is a really good growth tile. So I'll see if I can get that Temple of Artemis up. Time to settle another city, and I'm basically just like snaking my way along the continent here. Settling cities reasonably far apart to try and take advantage of as much of this coastline as possible. Like pretty much every other city, we will be purchasing the monument and the granary immediately in these cities, and getting to work on harbors to get their productivity and gold up. Now, what I'm doing is building cities and then sending trade routes to them, from them to the capital. I could actually reverse that. Oh, we got the mausoleum. I'll talk about the mausoleum here in a second. But what I could do is I could reverse this trend and sort of send trade routes from my capital to every other city so that I could pump out more cities. I prefer to have better cities than more in a situation where I have unlimited land. The entire idea of trying to get as many cities out as possible is when you have limited land, because once you can claim that land, you can start to develop it and do whatever you want with it. But anyway, like I said, we just got the mausoleum, which means all of these coastal tiles are really, really powerful. However, I am going to tell this city to prioritize production, because even though these tiles have really, really, really nice yields, I want to still be able to produce things in here. And speaking of things that I want to produce, my next chunk of gold is definitely going to be purchasing a shipyard in my capital, because this shipyard is worth +8 production, as well as an additional +1 production on every resource of a coastal nature that this city is working. You can see here, it gets production equal to the gold adjacency bonus of this city, which I'm also currently getting as science right now. You can see I'm getting 8 gold and 8 science. So if I can get this shipyard in here, that's another 8 production in my capital, as well as another +1, +2, +3, +4 production. So this building represents a total of 12 production, which means it pays itself off in about 24 turns. Now that is a really nice bonus. That's why pretty much all of my gold from this point onwards is going to be going into producing shipyards. Next up, I would really like to pick up industrialization. However, I'm still in the medieval era, and going all the way up to the industrial era is a pretty significant tech penalty. So I might spend a little bit of time down here, maybe looking for something to pick up. Normally what I would do is pick up medieval walls and Renaissance walls at this point of the game, so I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to do at this stage. It might also be worth it to pick up quarry improvements, as well as in a normal game I would also pick up printing, but since I actually don't get great works of writing as the Maori, it might just be worth it to go to industrialization and beeline for electricity and computers. But with the completion of the mausoleum in this city, I think I might work on the Great Lighthouse. Although the Colossus is better because it actually gives me a trade route. The Great Lighthouse is built faster though. Can I actually see if anyone is building the Great Lighthouse? It doesn't look like anyone is building the Great Lighthouse, so I'm going to prioritize that first because it's a faster build. Oh, Uluru. I couldn't remember the name of Uluru. I knew it was like a big flat red rock. Could not remember the name Uluru. God. I was thinking of Ayers Rock or something. But we're going to be trading with the capital here in this city. That'll net me 3 food for production, which will basically halve the amount of time that it takes to build the harbour in here. Now the city is still growing, so it'll find more tiles to work. So half is probably a little bit misleading, but half the current amount of time it takes to produce it at the very least. We're also on track for another Golden Age. We just need another 4 Golden Age points, which we might be able to pull off here. If I can get this guy back to some of my territory, I can't remember if you get era score from placing the Pa, the fortress that the Toa can build. And if you're wondering where the Toa fort comes from, it's actually there's a very interesting story by a YouTuber called Lindy Beige, and I can't remember if it was the Maori. I feel like it was the Maori or some other Polynesians. And basically what they would do is this like very early form of trench warfare. They would basically build like earthen forts and defend them. And they would like hide underground in tunnels that they had built. And so when the British would like shell them, they would then send in the troops to sort of try to take over these forts. And then all these like Maori warriors would just like appear out of the ground and just like, take them all out inside their own, inside what they thought were was like an abandoned earthworks. It's a very interesting story. You should look up, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a channel called Lindy Beige. And he does some really good like historical, talking about historical events and stuff like that. Oh no, it looks like a tornado ripped or a hurricane ripped through my capital and I didn't notice. That's really unfortunate. However, I can purchase my shipyard in here now. I have enough gold. That's going to be another 8 production plus production from all of these fishing resources. Oh, it's only unimproved tiles to get that. Wait, where is the technology that gets fishing boats production? Why do I remember that? Oh, it's colonialism. It's this that I need to get. colonialism over here. Sorry, I got a little bit confused there. I kind of forgot. I kind of forgot what does what. But I'm going to need to get a builder in my capital to repair this. And unfortunately, I didn't actually notice that my government plaza had been hit. So my intelligence agency has been delayed a significant chunk. I'll probably just finish the settler really quick and then get this stuff repaired. Does that explain why I didn't get a builder over here? Am I just crazy? Man, I honestly have no idea. I'm not going to be able to afford to purchase all of my shipyards, so I am going to hard build a few of them where it makes sense. And I think Kaipoi makes sense. It's a +6 shipyard, so it's not as important to purchase. Whereas, for example, over here in Otarapa, this is going to be like a +10 shipyard, so that one's definitely going to be one that I want to purchase. I basically think anything that's like a +4 baseline adjacency or above is worth purchasing, and anything below that is probably just going to be hard built. Not that that's kind of an arbitrary line, because I just have to draw the line somewhere. Settling another city up here in the tundra for the long-term benefit of building up infrastructure. We'll of course place the harbour. Unfortunately, I don't have spare gold to do the monuments and granaries anymore. That's going to have to be self-built, at least until I have all my harbours online. Maori completed in Warakawa. This is a +8 shipyard, but this city isn't really doing anything else. And if I could hard build this shipyard, it would save me about 1,000 gold. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to hard build this one as well, because the city has a decent production line already. Whereas this one over here, this is a +10 shipyard. I'm going to want to purchase that. So it would take 18 turns to build it, or about 4 or 5 turns to purchase it if I just wait for the gold. So I think I'm going to produce the Maori in here, and then purchase the shipyard once I have the gold. I just picked up another governor title too, so Reina will be getting forestry management. So if I pop back over to that city where I placed Reina, you can see all of the tiles in the city now also produce +2 gold, which is pretty damn nice. The unfortunate thing is I did settle this city while my ancestral hall was broken, so I didn't get the free builder. Not a huge deal, just kind of inefficient. I figured maybe I probably should have waited. I just kind of forgot what I was doing my turn, but not a game breaking like problem by any stretch of the imagination. Ooh, there's the Ubsoner Hollow. That's a pretty good one. Might be worth building a holy site down there at some point. It's a pretty nice little natural wonder, especially if you're playing as Russia and you find this thing in like near your starting location. It's crazy good. Hey, there's the Temple of Artemis giving me a ton of housing and food in Otarapa. And I think I'm going to work on the commercial hub at the shipyard. I think I'm going to build the shipyard in here next, because it's a +8 one. And I'm not going to have the gold to purchase it in about 11 turns anyway, because I'm getting ready to purchase the one in this city. So I'm kind of have to plot out my resources efficiently. We're of course going to keep trading with the capital in the city, because 3 food and 4 production is a crazy amount. Although I do want builders in here eventually, kind of working hard on these things. And getting a shipyard in here would be huge as well to build these faster. I've reached a point in the game now where I'm a little bit stretched thin. But we did just unlock Renaissance walls, and we're going to head up towards industrialization. And the reason we're heading towards industrialization is so that any mines we do build are better, mostly over strategic resources when we're playing the Maori. The more important thing is that industrialization gives us access to coal, which means we can do things like do power plants, and it also leads on towards seaports, which in a coastal game is really, really important, because it gets you a ton of gold in all your coast tiles, as well as leading to flight. And flight is the thing that allows you to generate culture from generate tourism from your culture working from tiles, as well as access to the broadcast center and the all-important computers technology, which is going to protect us from flooding, as well as give us a 25% tourism boost, which is of course typically how you're going to want to try to win as the Maori. Because if you look here, the Maori gives you +1 tourism to all of the city's tiles with a feature or a natural wonder. Hopefully that explains the current pathway that we'll be taking. But I think this is as good a point as any to wrap up. We only did about 24 turns, but I think these 24 turns really set the tone for what you're going to be expecting out of the next few episodes. That I'm going to just have a massive coastal empire that sprawls basically across this entire continent, and then maybe we'll get around to filling in the center. But I'm more enamored with taking up the coast And this is like a really fun way to play the Maori. So I absolutely recommend you try something like this in your games. Go to a Terra map, put all the AI onto a single island, and then abandon them and go have your fun. Alright, I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!